Casey Gilombardo, and I'm going to talk about one of my favorite strategies called revision workshop model. And it's really based on the workshop model, and it's how I get students to the point where they're able to self-assess and also peer assess another student's example of what proficiency looks like. So you'll notice that it starts off with me modeling how I scored, and I use a student exemplar from the previous year. And then we practice together in pairs. Once they have a sense of what I'm looking for on how to meet standard, we then break them up into triads and they score each other's work. And finally, they end off the class with having time to individually revise. So I'll just kind of walk you through what that kind of looks like. I first start with projecting the standard or the rubric or the indicator, whatever you're using to assess the student work. And I really kind of clarify what the different levels look like to me. And once I do that, and on this particular assignment, they're writing an essay, and I'm using two indicators. One is more content-based for history, and the other one is more writing-based. So once I've kind of clarified what that looks like for this assignment, I talk about how I want them to score, creating a grading rationale. And what they have to do is they have to rationalize why they gave it one score and not another. So if they give it a developing or a partially meets, they have to justify why it would be a partially meets and not a score above or score below. I then model the very first time I do it. So they have a copy of this at their tables, but I also like to project it so I can underline stuff. But I read it to them, and then I give them my rationale. So I project why I gave them an exceeds with my reasons why on indicator 2.6, and why I gave them a partially meets on the other rubric. Once I've modeled it, they then break up into partners, and I give them whiteboards, because what is more fun for high school or any kind of student than getting a whiteboard? And in pairs, they get to look at a brand new example, and they have to score it on the rubric. And then we have a fun little competition on who can score the most points in alignment for me, and we make like a little tally on the board. But really, I go through as many examples as possible until I get a sense that most of my students are starting to know what it looks like to meet the standard. So this is what they would do. I'd project the answers. We would tally up who got it right. Once we've gone past this practice with pairs, at this point, when I feel confident they can do it on their own, I then break them up into triads, and two people will give feedback to the other person. And I project a certain protocol that I have for how they do that. And then when they're done, they can go back, take their feedback, and then revise their own paper. And this is really just built in to get them more confident in what I'm looking for to meet standard. So that's my strategy.